times to throw the football. My attitude is this. You want to have a really, really good shot at being a productive running back in the National Football League, have a quarterback that can throw the football. And guess what? That's going to take it. They can't stack the deck. They can't stack the deck to make sure they negate the running game. That's going to free up some opportunities in your running game. And I think when you look at a Garrett Wilson, when you look at the greatness of an Aaron Rodgers, when you look at familiar targets like Alan Lazard and obviously Randall Cobb and stuff like that, adding a guy like Cook, you're going to give him the ball enough for him to get his reps in and be highly productive. He's went to the Pro Bowl 4 consecutive seasons, the last 4 years. You're going to give him the ball enough. But in the same breath, to have an elite quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, whose durability is dependable because he usually doesn't miss games, okay? Not to mention the fact that he's throwing the ball away before he throws an interception, stuff like that. I think you take into all those things into account, and the Jets are a better situation for Dalvin Cook than for a Miami Dolphins team, who definitely wants to throw the football with Hill and Waddle, and obviously Tua, dropping back behind center. I think that the Jets are a better situation for Cook.
Okay, so football-wise, the best place for Dalvin Cook is the Dallas Cowboys. Unrealistic because the finances, maybe. When it comes to these two teams, Jets or Dolphins, I say the New York Jets. Number one, they're a true contender, a little bit more for me than the Dolphins, especially since the Jalen Ramsey injury of a little bit ago. I think that injury is going to be a bigger conversation, just a bigger deal for their defense than maybe we're giving it credit. Number two, he steps in and is an immediate impact guy. The Jets, I love Breece Hall, the tailback that they took last year. He led the NFL in yards per scrimmage or from scrimmage before the ACL injury. But the ACL injury is a thing that hopefully, if Dalvin Cook becomes a Jets, they ease him into their offense a little bit and they ease him back from his knee. So he's an immediate impact guy. Number three, he knows this offense. Nathaniel Hackett is going to run a very similar run scheme that Dalvin played with in Minnesota. Now, the same could be said for Miami when it comes to the team. Miami has Mostert. They have Wilson. They drafted a young man named Devon Achane out of Texas A&M. I think, Dalvin Cook, it's a lot of moving parts or a lot of pieces in the run game for Miami. He immediately goes to the Jets and probably becomes their 1B at worst back, given kind of what's happening with Breece Hall. So both are good situations. I think the Jets, if we're just talking about these two teams, make the most sense for him when it comes to his individual performance, role, and team success.
Yeah, I'm going to say Miami for a lot of reasons. One of them is that Breece Hall is going to play eventually. I know right now he's not practicing, unable to perform list because of that ACL, but he is going to return, and he's a young player. He'll bounce back from that ACL. That's the first thing. Second thing is Miami needs, and they got a couple of those Niner kind of running backs in Wilson and Mostert, but they need a big guy to take a little pressure off. Obviously, the quarterback, too, who is susceptible to injury, balances out their offense a little better, plus, of course, with the Florida connection. And number three, and most importantly, the Jets do not need to increase expectations. The whole world knows the Jets are going to be sort of the now team this year. You bring Cook in here, and then all of a sudden the Jet fan in New York City thinks, well, there's no way we can't win now. And the Jets need to tone that down a little bit.
Why?
They need to settle in a little bit, let Rodgers get affiliated with, obviously, Garrett Wilson and Lazard. They don't need more expectations. They need to temper their expectations. Plus, Hall's returning anyway, for crying out loud. The Jets don't want to become an all-star team. The Jets want to become a football team. So I don't like the idea that he goes to the Jets.
Okay, what is wrong with you?
Well,
you make no sense. You make no sense. Are you trying to win a championship or not? You get the assets that are needed in order to best position you to win. You're sitting there talking about temporary expectations. What the kind of nonsense is that?
Well, how many championships did Minnesota win?
Excuse me, that's not the point. Minnesota didn't have Aaron Rodgers. They got Kirk Cousins. Well, let's be very, very clear about that, all right? The fact of the matter is Minnesota don't have the kind of defense that the New York Jets have, at least not presumably. The fact of the matter is when you look at the New York Jets right now, considering the fact that they acquired Aaron Rodgers, that they've handed this franchise to him, that you got an offensive rookie of the year, okay, in a Garrett Wilson, that you got an elite defense that would have been in play. They were tinkering on making the players with Zach Wilson as their quarterback, for crying out loud. What are you talking about? You don't sit up there and go like this. Oh, no, well, I don't like the fact that they're talking about getting Dalvin Cook because that's just going to elevate expectations. Who gives a damn about the expectations?
Cook's going to be having 8 carries a game?
Excuse me, I didn't say he's not going to get 8 carries a game.
Well, how many carries are you going to get? You got the all-phone. You got your little buddy there at QB.
Excuse me, Breece Hall is not healthy.
He will be. He's not going to be all year.
Excuse me, you never know. You never know. You need an insurance package. You're trying to win a chip. You're trying to win a championship. The Los Angeles Rams just did it 2 years ago. They didn't need Von Miller, supposedly, but they went and got him, right? They got a Super Bowl championship. They didn't. Jared Goff is balling in Detroit. But guess what? He wasn't Matthew Stafford. You got rid of him. That's what you did. You went all in. You got the chip. You're Tampa Bay. You bring Tom Brady up in there, okay? And who else came with him? LeGarrette Blount followed, all right? Why did you do all of that? Because you stacking the deck. Because you're going for the championship. You don't sit up there and say temporary expectations.
How many great running backs have won championships?
Excuse me.
Barry Sanders didn't win one.
Excuse me. We're not talking about
Walter Payton was shot when the best.
Excuse me. I understand that, but the fact of the matter is, you need somebody to rely upon in the backfield because Breece Hall may not be ready to go.
How about
you
the
got to have an
Chiefs?
insurance
Who's their great running back the last 2 times they've won?
Excuse me. They've had a decent running game over the last 2 years. Just that Patrick Mahomes is so great, and you got a reliable weapon at the tight end spot with Travis Kelce. What is Dak Prescott going to suffer from? If Dak Prescott's going to suffer from anything, it's the fact that Dalton Schultz is gone now, okay? And you've got to, basically familiarize yourself with your new tight end because your primary target, your dependable, your reliable target is no longer there. You Aaron Rodgers with the New York Jets. You stack the deck. You do everything you can to get every talent, every talent at every position you possibly can on the offensive side of the ball because your defense is going to show up. What are you talking about?
Stephen A., will the Steelers finish last in the AFC North?
No, they will not. They're just allergic to doing so with Mike Tomlin. He has not had a losing season in his career. In his 16 years, no NFL coach has started off that successfully. So we got to give love and credit where it's due. I also think that the AFC North has a history of beating up on each other. No matter what goes on everywhere else within that division, you got guys that get knocked off. There's always somebody that falls off the precipice to some degree. When I look at Kenny Pickett, obviously I like how he played the last half of the season, came into his own. The team has a lot of faith in him, and we get all of that. Pickens can ball. Okay, Deontay Johnson can ball. Najee Harris can ball. Okay, and oh, by the way, they acquired Allen Robinson as a free agent from the Rams. So I take all of those things into consideration, along with the fact that they prioritize buffering their, correct me if I'm wrong, Orlovsky, they prioritize buffering their offensive line this offseason. Obviously, that's a very, very big deal. And here's all I want. Please, TJ Watt, don't get hurt. Because when that brother is on the field, special things happen for the Pittsburgh Steelers on the defensive side of the ball. It is just that simple. Minka Fitzpatrick is there. We get all of that. We got all that. Hayward, they all there. We get all that. But TJ Watt, that's what it's all about. That brother, if he's healthy and on that football field, ain't no way in hell all three teams in the AFC North are going to be ahead of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Somebody going to fall. Somebody.
I say yes, they do. Outside of Mike Tomlin, I don't know if there's a person or a unit that they are better than anybody else in their division. TJ Watt maybe, but Cleveland has Myles Garrett. Minka Fitzpatrick could be in that conversation, but they're not better up front than anybody else in their division. They don't have better skill group players than everybody else in their position. They're not better at quarterback than everybody else in their division. Defensively, Baltimore is just as good, if not better than them in Pittsburgh. So I just think like the total makeup of the football team, and I still think they're intriguing and they have a chance to be a good team. It's just that the division is absolutely loaded. We'll see what happens with Burrow. I just think I can't find a unit that I sit there and go, that group is better than everybody else in their division, and that's going to be the reason why they don't finish in last place.
Yeah, you can't analyze this, though, Dan, based on units and put your little X's and O's sheet out. That's not what this is about. This is about winning culture, and you're not going to sit there and tell me that the Browns can't finish in last place in the NL.
That's
why I said Mike Tomlin. That's why I said
Cleveland Browns. Come on.
That's why I said Mike. That's why I said Tomlin. But they're also ridiculously talented.
No, listen, the Browns last year did very little. Watson's got a lot to prove. They have a history of not getting the job done in big situations. Tomlin's an excellent coach. Last year, Pittsburgh did a good job of bouncing back off obviously a rough start with a young quarterback. It's a very hard division. Rivalry games all over the place. Stevie's right about that. You're going to have a lot of losses. Anybody can lose to anybody else on the road in this division. But I am not going to sit there and say right now that the Cleveland Browns can't finish in last place over the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's not fair. Now, could Pittsburgh finish in last? Yes, but I'll bet the Browns do. So I'll say Pittsburgh in third place. Stevie agrees.
I mean, listen, right now, I would certainly have to sit up there and say that, conceivably, Cincinnati, Baltimore, you can't put the Steelers ahead of them at this particular juncture.
Can't.
The Steelers could potentially knock one of them off, sure, but right now you got to look at those two as the favorites in the AFC North. Why the hell should I give Cleveland the benefit of the doubt?
We don't know what Cleveland's going to be.
We don't know what they're going to be.
Yeah.
You
Dan,
got to see what Watson looks like. Yep.
Dan, real quick, one-word answer here. What's better, AFC East or AFC North?
I will say the AFC North.
Okay.
So do I.
All right. Coming up, Bill Bell.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.